Well, shalom, everyone. Greetings this morning as you are here at Q2UA. I'd like to remind everyone that Q2UA is a nonprofit charity organization where we focus on serving the needs of the African diaspora in the continent through critical infrastructure and economic development cooperatives. These cooperatives come in the forms of projects and other charitable actions. As we begin to see how the foothold of the West is deteriorating really right in front of our eyes. I think that's what a lot of folks um they they're realizing this. And as they are realizing this, you're now beginning to see the situation of how everything is unfolding in terms of the geopolitical situation that's going on. And geopolitics and politics is still a warfare maneuver. So now you're just seeing the nuances of what that warfare looks like during this time. So you'll have to forgive me, family. I am a little sluggish this morning. Florida is in the grips of this cold that is gripping most of the United States. Because anything really under 40 degrees, I fail to. It takes me a little bit. That sting of cold, it gets cold, but it doesn't really sting as bad. But I want to go through here to really highlight some things. If you can, if you're coming in, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. We are continually trying to grow Q2UA's YouTube presence and online presence, and that all begins with you all. So let's go ahead and get into this. There's a couple of things I wanted to present today because there's a lot of stuff that's happening. So I'll go here to Economic Times, and it says here. Give me a second. Let me go ahead. I want to share this screen. Starting to find that Twitter is now becoming your kind of defunct or default news source. I'm gonna go here. This is Economic Times. There's Since President-elect Trump demanded that BRICS member countries commit to not creating a new currency or supporting another currency that would replace or the U.S. dollar or face the dollar. The idea that BRICS countries are trying to move away from the dollar while we stand by and watch is over. Trump said in a post. And then over the past years, a few of its member countries, in particular Russia and China, are seeking an alternative. That's what's been happening, and India has so far not been part of the move. Well, there's a coordinated effort. So President Putin has repeatedly emphasized that it is weaponization of the U.S. dollar that has driven economy.
Большое спасибо, уважаемая госпожа Роусов. Вы
Thank you very
сказали,
much.
что
You
доллар
mentioned that the
используется в
dollar
качестве
is being
оружия.
used as a
Да,
weapon.
действительно, мы видим это так.
We see that
На самом деле,
case
думаю, что это
that
большая
we
ошибка
made
тех, кто это
a
делает,
country
потому что
it
использование
dollar, which
на
instrument of global finance
доллара, а он является до сих
goals,
пор важнейшим инструментом в мировых финансах, как средство достижения политических целей, подрывает доверие к этой валюте
trust in this currency
и
capable.
снижает его возможности. Но не мы же это
We are
делаем,
not
это
the
делают
ones
другие
who
люди. Мы не отказываемся, не
are
боремся
not
с долларом.
rejecting
Но если нам не дают с ним
fighting
работать, что
the
же делать?
dollar.
Мы тогда
Hard
вынуждены искать другие альтернативы,
other
что и происходит.
exactly what is happening. So, missed a few words in the translation, but yeah, sorry. Let me just go here and I'll share just a snippet. So we'll go to this post right here. So this is from Alf. Trump just came out with a very strong statement. Do not even think about creating your own BRICS currency, or the U.S. will slam 100% tariffs on you. The idea of the BRICS countries are trying to move away from the US dollar while we stand by and watch is over. We require a commitment from these countries that they will neither create a new BRICS currency nor back any other currency to replace the mighty US dollar, or they will face 100% tariffs and should expect to say goodbye to selling into the wonderful US economy. They can go find another sucker. There is no chance that the BRICS will replace the US dollar in international trade, and any country that tries should wave goodbye to the US. So those are the threats. Why do we see this threat happening? Well, plain and simple. You see this happening because the US dollar, as I had stated multiple times, as a matter of fact, it's in the book, The Rise of Africa, the Continent, the Diaspora, and BRICS. It shows how the US dollar has been on the, I would say, slide, as it has weaponized its role of the dollar. The idea of a global reserve currency, even under the pound, is that countries should be able to freely trade and safely trade with the global reserve currency, because it's treated as a medium that recognizes the wealth of that country. However, if you understand that, then that becomes a big issue because how do you define the wealth of a country, especially if you are a European or Western nation? So I kind of want to give this to you all because I did write about this in my book, and it's just interesting that we're seeing all of this play on out in the really the exact precise manner, because this is literally the playbook that they had at the end of the Roman Empire. At the end of the Roman Empire, folks were basically, taking their toys, i.e., resources, and they were leaving. They were going home. And the reality of it was the Roman Empire was as strong as the parts that it had collected. So as I was thinking about this morning, when you see the global outbreak or the breakout, when you see what's happening in Africa and why the French forces wanted to deploy 2,000 troops into Niger, why is that? Because they are doing very badly in their countries. If you think it's cold here, remember Europe is colder, and Europe sits more northernly than the North American continent. So understand it is cold over there, and in less than 30 days, they won't have a pipeline to facilitate gas anymore into Europe, because they understand that they have to control the resources of the world. And literally, what you're seeing taking place is a last ditch effort. So I want to go here because I was reporting some things last week on that, and I had to get the sourcing right. And I always said, listen, this is what I see as of now, but then things will definitely clarify a bit more. And so initially, when I was looking at what was taking place in Syria last week, the day after the ceasefire, the quote unquote supposed ceasefire in Lebanon had taken place, you have Russian Syria jets reportedly attack Idlib on the fifth day of opposition's surprise advance in northwest Syria. Well, it is a surprised advance, but let me tell you, it's not necessarily surprise. It's an advance that, when you understand the geopolitical mechanisms and you understand how things work, you begin to realize the situation in Syria. Because I've said this time and time again, especially on Covenant Awakenings, that the reason Assad has been holding on these last, since 2011, now 2024, almost 2025, so roughly almost 14 years since the Arab Spring or the Arab Awakening, supposedly, and I say supposedly, that you have Assad. Assad kept power in 2015 as he was on the brink of losing to US backed militant. That's the best way I can describe it. And it's very, very covert arm of those black flagged white riding folks that took over Mosul. So my question is that if you are created for the purpose of being destroyed, and then you're reconstituted for the purpose of being destroyed after you're finished being the tool in the chess piece, then why are you going to do that? If you're literally created to be controlled opposition, why participate? And the answer is simple. It's easier to have controlled opposition when they don't even realize that they're controlled opposition. Understand, these folks at that time really didn't have the internet like they have it right now. And now, just think about this. Over the course of this period of time, now they've become so economically degraded that any little bit of money that's thrown their way, and they're going to come running. Even if that means that they have a short lifespan attached to receiving those funds. Kind of diabolical, isn't it? Well, that's what's been happening. So when you have been a country degraded and in decline, oh, and by the way, the country was broken apart because of the oil revenues, because America doesn't like to tell you that it has troops that are constantly in those oil fields in that middle Euphrates Valley area. They've had it for a while. That was the whole control. So there was a detente or an armistice of sorts that had allowed for US forces to be there. On top of that, now you can clearly see that with the Syrian opposition, these Syrian rebels, which do comprise of Al Qaeda forces, surprise, surprise, where did we see that at a few months ago? Mali. And now it's been purported, I don't have the images, but it's been purported that there are, no kidding, Ukrainian fighters helping with the Syrians. Surprise, surprise. Can we say that this has gone beyond the European scope as it was always going to be? In that southern Hellenic area of the Middle East. Because what they don't like to tell you is all of that area up into Egypt was all Hellenic. Yeah, they would have a little bit of a Middle Eastern flair with Arabs, but those were literally Arab Hellenics. So shout out to brother Yakoba Aveo, True Jerusalem. Please get that book and support our brother, True Jerusalem. And he breaks that on down because the ability to have your supply lines, especially during Roman times, was built off of the Babylonian and Hellenic. And I would say Babylonian in terms of Sumerian and Hellenic posturings. What they don't like to tell you is most of the Western world, excuse me, not Western, but ancient world, was all built off of some sort of naming enclave from Africa. You had a Thebes in Egypt. But then you also had a Thebes in Greece. Which one was it? You have a Babylon in the Hellenic areas, even the Persians. And you have a Babylon that was located in Africa. Which one is it? But they'll say Sumerians because they're the Sumerian Empire, the Sumers. It's just that we'll just call it Babylon. It's easier. It avoids confusion, but that's not the real Babylon. Just saying. Susa, Sumerian, and then they would have their venerations of a town that they had been inspired by to create. Because when they looked at what it was, they even had syncretism even in their land. Come on. There's a Philadelphia here in the United States. I'm just saying. There's a York in the UK. I'm just saying. And it can go on and on and on. And that is why you have the same things that they have when you have a Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and a Pittsburgh, Kansas. Salem's are in multiple towns located in multiple states across this country. Yep. In Jersey, you have a New Jersey. Hampshire, you have a New Hampshire. I mean, it can go on and on. But this is what they do because the idea has always been to confuse and obfuscate to ensure that they are able to say that no, this is the real deal. Because when you follow that yellow brick road to Oz, they want you to follow many paths. And that's why the word says that the Most High makes the crooked path straight. Because the lies that have been provided for over the millennia and centuries are now beginning to unravel. And if you don't understand how syncretism works, understand that it's globally, regionally, geographically, spiritually, and it deals with ethnicity. And then when it meets its mark, then the cutoff can begin. You see that in the Bible. And then you see that with us. So now understand what is happening. Understand how this is on a global scale, because the way that you fight a war, the way that you fight a battle, especially in these conditions, you're not going to be able to go head to head with the US. That's the hammer of the whole world. That is literally Jeremiah 50 and 51. That is it. However, in order to see how this place has been confounded, because we're looking at that with even these Trump picks, these Trump nominations, and various areas of the government. Understand, in the next less than 50 days, this place is going to get turned upside down, because there's going to be some wrath and fury that is going to occur to the US government, not by Russia, not by China, but really by Trump himself. See, to me, Trump will be the embodiment of what a black person would do if they had been convicted, if they had gone through a circus, if they had gone through all the mudslinging, and then they come into power. Get your popcorns ready, because it's about to get good. And this is why folks are getting scared. And this is why we're seeing all of these lightning offenses and these breakouts happening globally, because leaders are seeing that if you're trying to hedge your bets, you're going to hedge your bets in gold. You're going to hedge your bets in Africa. That's the traditional mainstay. And if the people on the continent are kicking out the people that have traditionally been able to rule the continent via proxy or direct dynamic militaristic political arms, those are being exposed. And now Africa, and its short run, I'm talking about less than 5 years. I'm talking about right after the pandemic had started, and now you're starting to see people are scared. Because why? Because their resources and their access is being cut off. It's being diminished in front of their eyes. I look at these channels on YouTube. Some have their agendas. And if you come to this channel, I'm going to let you know our agenda is we're doing work on the continent. That's our agenda. To be able to build those gaps with our brothers and sisters, because those gaps have been vastly imposed by transatlantic slave trade, trans-Saharan slave trade, and other governmental policies that has created the social conditioning for us to not want to build with our brothers and sisters. That has been a social conditioning exercise and experiment that's been on us for the last 400 years plus. And I say 400 years because we are, most of us that's listening have been here in the United States when it was first established in 1619. That was the establishment of some of our family lines, landing in Point Comfort, Hampton Roads, Virginia, right on the banks of the St. James River, where 20 and some odd Negroes established our presence here in the United States, where Babylon was officially the new Babylon, spiritual Babylon, had officially been given dominion because the rapid advance of the United States began to happen. As their folks 7 years earlier were starving and not knowing how to do the crops and not having the amenable genetic conditions to properly till the land, and nor did they have any type of amenable inhabitants from the indigenous folks here to support the land grab. So yes, family, understand in the history books, the US has been all about slavery. It's just that this day and age, it's now the slavery gets a little bit more of a wine and dine, especially from other groups. And now, in order to insulate themselves, because why would you need to have all these open borders? Because it's a classic tactic of taking hostages. Y'all weren't even thinking about that. We're not going to call them hostages. We're going to call them migrants. So, but when they get here, we really don't want them to be here. We really actually have a displeasure and a disdain for them. But because we have them here and we have some of the other folks that we've lured here, when this fight breaks out, when we know that we're going to be surrounded, well, we have in the midst of them, of this nation, their people. Oh yeah. See, I love to think in the abstract because when I explain the abstract, then people start to understand that's how they think. Are you going to really say that? Yes, I am. Because that's exactly what Obadiah, Habakkuk, and Jeremiah has said. So now we're seeing this at this very time, this very moment. It's no excuse. It's no coincidence. And they have no excuse. They've lorded the Bible over us, and they have strategically stuck to the New Testament because that Old Testament would have a lot of questions than answers. The Old Testament implicates them because our condition is not a natural condition. Our situation is not a normal occurrence. Matter of fact, it is a very unique occurrence that they are not able to rectify. They can't lie their way out of what we have been through. they may have hidden apocrypha and other materials from scriptures that may not have fit the narrative. We understand how things were removed. We understood the Council of Nicaea. But now when we give it to them in scholarly works, shout out to Sister Gates of Holda and Yakova and Teyu. Oh yeah, we're gonna be talking about that one too, Sean. I just had to come through here because I gotta get my global breakout monologue on in because a lot of things are happening. And honestly, we don't know how much time we truly have left. We had said that. We weren't saying that as a little passive, oh, well, you know, they always say how much time we have left. Well, they always say. Well, I don't have to say anything. You're seeing it. Truth unedited, absolutely. He has been going in recently. He's like, I'm a Hebrew. And then I think it was like the last 2 years, he just put that pedal to the metal. Yeah. But we've gotten to that critical point where we're driving up to the point of no return as unwitting hostages. I'm just saying that's how that is. And then you have folks in our community that get famous people in our community that get invited to African nations and then they act a fool. And when they act a fool, then guess what that does? It makes us look even less desirable. Do I really want to work with you all in the African diaspora, particularly in America, when this is how you act? Now you have to understand there is an active smear campaign on us because our limited means and resources cannot compete. And before these gaps get built on up, there has to be a bigger breaking to that. Well, don't worry because of X, Y, and Z. Don't say this because you have that. Don't get that information. This is an active campaign by your heavily Masonic order. The last thing that they've established over these 2,000 years was to ensure that we would stay away from each other. And now their worst case scenario is happening and they can't understand why. Actually, they do understand why. They understand how the Most High's word works, but they are the opposition. You have to have the opposition. So, in any opposition or accusatory or any other manner. Thank you, Sister Coco G, for supporting the channel. Hallelujah. I have to be careful with the words here. This is a nonprofit. This does represent a nonprofit entity that can get sued. So, yeah, I have to make sure that, I'm staying within the bounds. You know that they would love to take this thing out right before this thing is about to leapfrog. And why is it about to leapfrog? Because understand that everything that they are doing, especially in Syria, especially in Georgia, the country of Georgia, and all around the world, is getting ready to take off. Well, and brother Asaf, I'm glad that you brought that up. Thank you, Sister Coco G, for the super sticker. Hallelujah. It says your president-elect is going to sanction gold and other natural resources by 100%. Does he realize how it will affect his bonds in the U.S. dollar? It doesn't matter. It's not about effect. People think that it's a positive. No, this is a negative. Everything that he's going to do will collapse the U.S. dollar. That's what's going to happen. Why is it going to collapse the US dollar? Because that will allow everybody to be a combatant. Y'all didn't think that we were going to have to fight getting out of here. I'm sorry, family. You literally see it in Joel. You literally see it in Obadiah. You are getting ready to see. I have to reach back. Shout out to Sister Gates Aholda. And Sister Gates Aholda, she said, "Listen, this is the very first 5 minutes of the video." And then she went to her scholarly work, which is excellent, by the way. It's always. But she had said, the Most High always makes the enemies of his people fight each other. He always does. We are looking at this and we're not even really truly appreciating what the Most High is doing, so that the enemy's camp is getting ready to turn their own swords on each other. There is dissension in the camps. They're literally trying to show you that in that Civil War movie. Well, what type of an American are you? No, I truly believe that probably come here the next Christmas, not next Christmas, this Christmas, next 3-4 weeks, it is going to be absolutely outrageous. And it's going to look absolutely unreal. People's minds are going to be boggled as they're seeing this, because you have to understand they never had the firepower or capability to fight Russia. I'm going to say that. Europe may try to act like they're going to bring somebody, and then the US is going to be like, psych. And then what Europe will have to do, they'll have to quickly sign a pact and sign an agreement. And then Europe will disavow the United States, and then the United States will be caught red-handed, as they already have, supporting these militaristic factions that are known by the T words and that have scarred the psyche of the US and the world with September 11th. I'm just saying that. That's all I can go there with. Because the actions taking place in Europe does not look very good. Nor around the world. It does not look very good. Oh, and by the way, did you all know that the Sahel brought up a complaint to the UN Security Council? So that's on the books. And they tied that back to the West and the United States because of the armament that they were fighting being from the US via all those aid packages, all those aid deals. Yeah. To me, I don't think they were ever really serious about fighting. Okay, well, you do this, now you do that. Okay, you do this. I'm trying to have everybody understand this picture of this global breakout. Because even though Trump may say, hey, we're going to, you know, do these ridiculous tariffs and everything else, it it doesn't matter. They can't do that. What do you think that's going to happen to Teslas? Get out of here. It'll crash the economy. But maybe that's the way that he was trying to do, and then you can blame everybody else. So government forces under the control of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad have also been fortifying the northern province of Hama. According to the Syrian state news agency Sana, it reported the army overnight pushed back opposition fighters in its northern countryside. So let's get an understanding here. Syria and Russia, because sometimes you have to read things backwards because you have to, get a better understanding. Syria and Russia have pushed out an advance of a rebel offensive. That rebel offensive is tied in with a lot of terrorist organizations. Those organizations are supported by Turkey and US. And this article does not do a good job mentioning that because that article is honestly there's some scary things when you do mention that. I know I've been mentioned earlier. Let's see what the Washington Post has to say. So they were saying, here's the Washington Post. Sorry, family. Let me make sure I get these links in here. So you have your indemnity, right? You have your indemnity. Syrian rebels wrest control of most of Aleppo. U.S. and allies urge de-escalation in joint statement. Yeah, that's what they always urge, de-escalation, but not really. Because understand that Syria has always been a staunch supporter of Hezbollah, and that's what they went after. So they took time. What the middle, excuse me, middle or the Eastern Mediterranean nation, when it had its quote unquote peace deal, the very next day they opened up a proxy war in Syria. That's what it was. So then they could reconstitute forces, because now their forces are not being reconstituted because there's an issue with the supply lines coming out of its ports. We'll go down to here, the second paragraph. The rapid assault is being led by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, an Islamist rebel group backed in northwestern Syria Idlib province. Government forces, which are supported by Russia and Iran, appear to have withdrawn from some areas as rebels tighten their grip on Aleppo on Sunday. They posted videos of themselves. And there's other reports that also refute the fact. So it's always, you're always going to have the media backing, because you win in the first, I think they say, week of reporting. So once you have the very first week of your propaganda on out there, it doesn't matter what everything else does. Eventually, when it falls, then they can pivot, to, well, our earlier initial reports, which are always wrong. Which are always wrong. And now understand, here you have, as the rebels tighten their grip on Aleppo on Sunday, they posted photos and videos of themselves at various military installations in and around the city. Insurgent fighters also said they seized territory around Aleppo, including areas in the northern, previously controlled by U.S.-backed Kurdish forces. But it also is being purported that there are Turkish and NATO, that covering word for US. let's just let's just face it. That when you are doing that type of a ground campaign, that ground campaign is going to have some sort of air coverage. Now, have the rebels been held at bay? In some sources, they've said that they have, especially by Russian aircraft. But what they're trying to not do is, Turkish and NATO forces are trying to not engage one another. So they're trying to have a limit of hostilities. And if those aircraft are engaged, then they're engaged by surface to air missiles. And now understand, Syria has S-300s and S-400s. They're not going to get into Damascus, and that's really not the point. When I had first saw this, I thought initially in my mind, with all the talk that Turkey was trying to do, was, hey, they're trying to help on out Lebanon. And that was far from the case. Matter of fact, they're trying to help out that Eastern Mediterranean nation that took a pause because they have to reconstitute forces, and those forces will not be that Eastern Mediterranean nation's forces. It's going to be other militaristic forces, i.e., US. Let's just be real. And the U.S. did land in there, so that's not anything that is highly controversial or sensitive. They even stated that a while ago. Do you think they left? No, they didn't. And matter of fact, I would say that this is part of that effort to reconstitute, refortify, because when Operation True Promise 3 happens, it is going to happen, in my opinion, based off of what I've been reading, based off of other elements, that it is going to be more than likely a ground invasion, a ground game. So they have to best fortify the Golan Heights and Lebanon as best as possible. They're going to try to create a buffer zone. They're going to try or limit as much logistical support as possible. Because I believe that they have probably sea freight that's heading into Tarsus, Turkey's biggest port there in the Eastern Mediterranean Sea. And that is where a lot of that cargo will be moved to from Iran and even potentially Russia, because Russia will not interfere in any um, transactions. So, just giving you that understanding of how these geopolitical situations have been started, because now you're starting to understand Syria's allies in Russia, Venezuela, and Iran showed support for Assad over the weekend. Understand, family, this is going to break out even more, because what you're getting ready to see happen, Iran and Israel are already in an open conflict. Nobody's going to dispute that. But I believe that you're probably getting ready to have another conflict over breakout, more than likely breakout in Venezuela. Probably either via the behest of Guyana, its neighbor to the east, or even potentially Colombia, its neighbor to the west. But you also have the country of Bolivia, that would also back up Venezuela. So look for that to happen. That's another uh, hot point. It hasn't boiled up yet, but it's a hot point. You're seeing a boiling up in Syria. This is a couple of hours from the global beacon. So this is how they're moving their tanks up that rocky terrain, desert terrain. A land flowing with milk and honey. Okay. That's what the Syrian army is bringing to the fight. Now, don't get it twisted. They are bringing in other things with the U.S. backed forces, with of the HTS, with the Humvees and all the other equipment But yeah, that's what's happening right there. I want to show you something that's a little bit more. Some things that are happening. So these are protests that's happening in Georgia. Oh boy. Fair use. Fair use. Fair use. So there again, when you see these European led efforts, there's always, women. Understood how Babylon works. That's how that goes. And it's not to have any type of sexist or derogatory comment. It's not. But that is literally how they try to have the infiltration. They've done that for years. So I'm just saying. Now you're just seeing how this thing works. So they're shooting some sort of rocket propelled, fireworks projectile towards the police. And again, when you have political unrest, it turns into civil unrest. That turns into insurgency, which then turns into civil war. I said this last week, and it's or 2 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, matter of fact. And now you can actually see all these stages because guess what? You're going to start to see these exact same stages here in the United States. It is coming. Because understand, these were the protests.
They strung up a man, they said him running free. Strange things have happened here.
Then that will lead to civil unrest. And, I don't need to share the video. But then this will start to happen. Armed groups of men in camouflage, utilities, uniforms, walking down the street carrying weapons, which will lead to the insurgency, and then that insurgency will lead to the Civil War. You've already had that. You've already seen the demonstrations that they've had in the United States. I'm just saying, you've seen it. You've had these folks doing rallies. This is fair use. Fair use.
The N-word. I'm in Short North, downtown Columbus right now.
Fair use.
And there are literally Nazis shouting the N-word, shouting profanities about Jewish people, walking the streets right now with guns and a megaphone.
So, fair use. I'm just giving you what the catalyst is in this global breakout, because everything will happen first on the global stage and then it will culminate to the United States. So now we are seeing this all unfold. I don't need to make this up. Actually, I'm not making this up. Matter of fact, I'm showing you what has been happening. And they're becoming more and more emboldened. So what does that mean for you and I in this global outbreak that is happening? Well, folks are doing a de-dollarization campaign. And that's why Trump is going to war against BRICS, because BRICS does spell out the end of the US dollar. Exactly, Naguana. It is above us now. We said our piece. We've said what we had to say. And here you have protest in Burma happening. Because this is a little bit more complex, but the theme is the same. You have a polarization happening. Those in the global south that want to remain under the West, and those in the global south that want to have their autonomy and be able to trade in their resource that empowers them to be wealthy. So that is the general theme that we're getting ready to see play itself out here in these next coming days. I'm going to say days. We no longer have weeks, but it's going to be days. And I'm sorry, family. It doesn't look like there's any recent activity in Burma. But it had been reported here we go. That you had some militia groups taking arms in Burma, some fighting, some conflicts going on. Because that's what ends up happening. You start to then see their protests turn into literal insurgencies, and in insurgencies they organize to militias, and that is then how you have a civil war. Now, do I see any of the folks here in the US just running around in either flip-flops or just barefoot in general? I don't know. I don't know. But what I can say is we cannot be surprised when these actions begin to develop. And when they do begin to develop, realize that that development is going to it's going to be covered under the rug. It's going to be swept up as best as it can, because you cannot afford to have people trying to cash in their Chuck E. Cheese tokens for the currency. Because what happens when you have more Chuck E. Cheese tokens than actual currency? Well, you get poorer. That's what's happening. That's the effect of de-dollarization in a nutshell. You want to know what de-dollarization is? That's it. Well, it's all of this and all of that, and you have to talk about de-Westernization. You got to talk about virtual money theories. You got to talk about currency swaps and exchanges. You got to talk, and then they make your head hurt. It makes people's head hurt when folks don't want to listen and understand what it is that the actual reality is. Let's keep it simple. Anything that's US backed, anything that's US derived, if you're not going into that alternative currency that is cut off by the SWIFT, which is a Society for Worldwide Interbank Transactions, SWIFT, BRICS payment and BRICS pay is independent of all of that. This is why people are trying to get in the gold as much as they can. I can't blame them. So when people are like, well, gold is getting this and gold, yeah, they're going to try to drive gold back down because they want to devalue the gold, the real currency, with the paper tickets, the Chuck E. Cheese tickets. That's how our system works. The more people turn in their tickets, the less wealth you have, the poorer you actually are net worth. Because when they sell off, those funds don't just automatically disappear. You're just getting more paper stacked up and less gold and less silver and less raw materials that you have access to. That is literally the real currency. But then they'll tell you that that's not the real currency. They'll tell you, no, it's actually this, it's actually that. You think they're going to tell you the truth? Absolutely not. No, they will not. But it's telling that you see Trump going after BRICS right now. That didn't take long. I told you that, family. That wasn't going to take long. They were going to declare war. I said it on this channel and I said it on Covenant Awakenings. They were going to go after the BRICS pay and the BRICS dollar. See, it was all fine and dandy when what they tried to do. They tried to ignore it. That's what they do first. All right, ain't that big of a deal. Let's just ignore it and, we'll be fine. And now they actually have to say something. And here's a real kick in the butt, family. Just to give you that understanding, here's a real kick in the butt. Even internationally, if you're trying to move dollars with dollars internationally, you're still in SWIFT. So you're still going to have some problems. Unless you're able to have an interchange system that would be based in that country's financial regulatory situation. And honestly, that hasn't come online yet. Family, I deal with this all the time. I deal with this exact same situation all the time in multiple countries on the continent. Yeah, Momosha Yahoo. Yeah, it was all good just a few weeks ago. But now folks are literally taking that thing seriously. And that's why I always say, don't listen to these folks here on YouTube that talk about, oh yeah, BRICS isn't gonna do anything. It's just, did you see how many folks were saying that after the Kazan summit? And that was just, and we were just saying this. Just watch and see. Just watch and see. And now Trump said something, yeah. And if Trump says something, listen, their deity says something. Orange Zeus said something. We call him OZ the Juice, the Zeus. I'm just giving Trump some rat names. OZ Man, Oz. Do you get that? Oh my goodness. The conspiracies run deep. Do, 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 do. Da, da, da. maybe they say this is a great and powerful Oz. I'm just saying. Maybe I don't know, man. I'm just saying. Orange Zeus, Zozy, Oz, Zeus. Did Brother Karras just stumble on a conspiracy? Da 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 da. Man, that's what they're all saying. Oh, the BRICS isn't serious. The BRICS is not that. BRICS is just something that they want to do or something, And I always had said, just give it a couple weeks. Because that's their whole idea, is to discredit. They got to discredit. No, nothing's going on. Nothing's happening. All while nothing's going on and nothing's happening. I was telling you that, family. I was telling you that here on Q2UA and on Covenant Awakenings. These countries are flocking to BRICS. They could see the economic headwinds that has shifted. Because you don't release your position on a matter, or your opinion on a matter, and come down that hard on a matter unless they know that they are threatened. Because why? Because folks have been turning in their Chuck E. Cheese tokens. Man, give me my money. Well, that's 44,000 tokens. Are you sure that you don't want to have the glow in the dark neon paneled phone corded, that whose buttons light up when you dial the number? No, I want my gold. You sure you don't want any pencils or school erasers? No. What about some warheads? Come on. Fine. I'll throw in the PS5. There you go. What about a free Chuck E. Cheese pizza? For those that have had kids, and I've had 4 of them, yes, understand. I take my kids when Chuck E. Cheese would have them quarterly coupons. Oh, you can get 100 tokens? All right. $20 family meal? Okay. That was back in the day. You don't even have that anymore. We even talk about Black Friday. Or I would have said them, keep the B word out your mouth. Keep the black out your mouth. That was the Will Smith. It wasn't Black Friday, it was Lack Friday. Lack. I was hearing about the games and the finagling of the numbers, and but our economy's good. These commentaries and even some articles. Oh man. Black Friday deals that were not. And this was after they realized that most of the Black Friday deals were not deals. They were just trying to sell the product at costs that were not inflationary. And even, yeah, New York Post, YouTube, or excuse me, Yahoo, even, yeah, The Guardian. And there is the Duncan Financial Group. You don't really have, yeah, you really don't have any very good articles. It said updated. And that's in Britain. I'm trying to find something else. Because you got to understand, they are not going to criticize these events. This is how they have to make money in this economy. But on average, it looked as though that you only had about, here's this Duncan Financial Group. Yeah, I'm really not getting it. I'll have to wait a few days. We'll have to wait a few days. We'll come back to that topic. Because folks are asking that on on Reddit and other places. You're going to get those all on these community forums like Quora and Reddit and all these other places. And that is because they don't want you to see what's been happening. Well, we have this. Well, we get a chance to have that. Well, we're supposed to have this. Because when people say that they're deals, then guess what? You're going to go off the word of mouth. Oh, they're deals. Oh, there's something that's actually worth me, putting gas in the car and going to see what's happening and spending my time in this cold and things of that nature. But again, like a couple of years ago, I believe this was actually even last year, of how abysmal the sales were in 2023. And most people were working, had some sort of jobs, even had more income because there wasn't a global sell off of the dollar like that's been happening. You do not want to have Chuck E. Cheese coins in your pocket. The US knows that. It's Chuck E. Cheese coins. You don't want to have that because the more you have in Chuck E. Cheese coins, the less you have in money. That's how this economy works. You get a ticket for your money. And whenever you're ticketing money on top of money, that happened with the Gold Act of 1934. That happened in the 1970s when oil became the new steadfast for the petrodollar instead of the gold-backed dollar. And now folks are screaming because now when they're trying to do this CBDC, which is even worse by comparative standards, because there's no foundation under it. And if the dollar is the only foundation, then everybody is lacking. Because then there's going to be zero transferability, and folks are literally tied into their domain in their global prison, or actually their nationalistic prison. Can you say Cuba and North Korea 2-3 decades ago? What does that do when you have somebody say they're going to get 100% tariffs? Okay, well, then that means I'm going to be 100% richer because I ain't paying the 100% tariffs. I'm going to pass that on down to your people. That gets passed down to the consumer. Okay, well, I'm going to get paid 100%. I'm going to get charged 100%. Something that's worth 50 is now going to be 100. Checkmate. Well, that's not supposed to be that much. Well, I'm just playing the game that you are playing with the rules that you imposed. What does that scripture say? In Obadiah, the wise men of Edom, the wise men of Teman, they've been destroyed. Sure, we'll pay that. But what you thought was going to be $50 is now going to be $100. You see how this game works? So now the consumer is going to have to pay 100% inflation. I have to laugh. I have to laugh when people don't realize that rationale. Well, they're not going to do that. Please, yes, they are. They still need that product coming through. Those Colombians going to be like, you going to tax this cocaino? You going to tax this heroin? China's going to be like, you want to tax this fentanyl? All right. That was supposed to be $350. That's going to be $700. Exactly, but it's like, come on. They're literally ruining this nation. They're bringing this nation to financial collapse and financial ruin right in front of your eyes. There's the scripture says there's not going to be any fault found in Judah. Don't look over here. Do not even look over here. If you look over here, it's best to be looking over here for help. If you ask, I will help you. That you can't accuse me or say anything to me on the contrary. You have plenty of examples of what happens and why it will happen. Remember, it only will hit here the worst when most of the tickets fall below a threshold. That is why Trump is saying what he's saying. Because every single time these tickets get cashed in, then the wealth goes out and then people become collectively poorer. That means your dollar is worth less. And if you have a product or if you have anything that is utilized outside of the United States, then that product, that service, whatever is going to cost more because it raises in comparison of not your dollar, but what the value is recognized with that country. So if that country, you say to that country, yeah, you know what? Well, it's going to be about $450 an hour. That country's going to look at you like, yeah, you're right. Huh? What? 450 an hour? Yeah. That's about right. Because that is what we're rating because of how your dollar has fallen. They always try to say, oh, your dollar index is so good and this and that, based off of what accounting? Based off of the present dollar in aggregate, not based off of what that country is holding. So if you're trying to evaluate your own dollar, you already have a problem. Well, my dollar's the strongest. My dollar's the strongest. Based off of what? My imagination. This is the Willy Wonka. It's the world of pure imagination. And that will only happen so much when people realize that it's going to cost thousands of dollars, and not just thousands, but tens of thousands of dollars to fly over to Europe or even Africa or Asia. I think I saw on one of the airlines, it was, I think British Airlines, it was saying like, it's an experience for $100,000 first class ticket. Like $100,000 first class ticket, then why don't you just charter a plane? But, people do that because it shows status. But what ends up happening is those countries, it's not marketed for us here in the West. It's marketed for those other countries because those other countries' currencies will have more of a value to their currencies. Man, I give you all just free classes. I give you all free classes. Oh boy. But that's okay. But I want to give you that understanding because a lot of folks won't give you that understanding. And simply it is because it is way beyond their scope. Some people may have experienced that and some people may not have. Generally speaking, the amount of people traveling overseas has actually diminished, because now a lot of folks have been able to do telecommuting, with Zooms and everything else. It saves money. Because then people, when they do go overseas, they get a sticker shock. Man, it costs me this amount of dollars to, yes, it does. You don't go to the continent for cheap. No, you don't. And yeah, and that is the general idea, brother Asaph. It is to keep us subdued. You ain't got no funds, you ain't traveling. If you can't travel, you can't get any funds. If you can't get any funds, you're gonna suffer. You know what Quest Unite Africa Q2UA was? It was that relationship framework to build confidences. Because now, if you can't see that it is imperative to establish our relationship with our brothers and sisters on the continent right now, then you will perish in the plan that they have for you. And I'm sorry, our people have been great at understanding alternative economies and understanding how to think outside the box and understanding how to move and when to move. This is why they had to polarize us so much. Well, I can't do this. Well, I can't do that. Do you understand why? Well, no, but do you understand why? Well, and generally speaking, our people don't understand why. And that's all by design. So when people can't get that, then guess what? That means that this system has won or is winning. Because the more that you are in ignorance, the more of a value that they have. At the end of the day, we are the value of the USD. Yeah, go ahead, Sister Chantel, because I was getting ready to shut this thing down, but go ahead.
Oh, was you? Shalom to everybody. I found it interesting what you're saying, especially what Uncle said. The cost makes it harder for Hebrews to leave, and that in itself is the point. I mean, if their own people want to leave, I wouldn't be surprised if they have little incentives and coupons or what, I don't know, something to make things easier for them. Seeing how they're trying to, one sister on TikTok was saying how they're not trying to allow us into the colleges anymore. They're not trying to give us jobs anymore. This is the whole point of them getting rid of affirmative action. And, all of this is maneuvering. It's really funny, because when you understand your oppressor and their mindset, nothing they do is surprising. Nothing that they do shocks you. And it's like the older ones, and those of us who are awake, we see this and it's not shocking to us. We're like, well, of course. But the younger generation, like under 40, they don't get this. They grew up in a world where oh, where everybody's one. We're all one. We're all in it together. You know, we like
Un-
Generation X
until times get tough, and
until times get tough.
then you realize where you are sitting at in that pecking order.
Yes. And the thing is, we grew up as the I don't remember that Stitch, that guy, that Gentile guy came out with, you know, with the Gen Xers and talking about, oh, we're the MTV generation. You don't know about you didn't go through racism and blah blah this that and the other. And in a way, he's kind of right. We went to their schools. We was the generation after our parents and our grandparents who went to their schools. Sometimes they would come to our house, or we'd go to their house, or so on and so forth. And it was like, we almost forgot when we were kids, we almost forgot. We would play outside with them and everything. I know that was my reality, you know. But it was when we got old enough and we started to see things, and then we're starting to hear, you know, our parents and our grandparents and great grandparents and what they went through and everything from their own mouths. And now we're the parents and we're looking at our children who are like, Mom, this person said this to me and the teacher didn't do anything. Or in fact, the teacher kind of like, well, you know, blah, 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 you know, and we're stuck in the middle. Mm-hmm. And we see what happened behind us, and we're seeing what our children are going through in front of us. We see their future, and we're like, your future, our children's future looks like our parents' past and our grandparents' past, you know. So it's like everything that they do, it's like they're maneuvering back to where they were before, because they understand. They had all this. It's like a villain who is trying to be good. I want to be on the right side of history. But after a while, it's like he can't.
Like Gru?
Yes, yes. I can no longer be against myself, against my better nature. Yeah, exactly. And we've seen that kind of trope so many times with the Lex Luthers and oh my gosh, it's all in there. It's all. And it's so funny because they're really writing about themselves. There was only so long they could continue keeping this mask up before the mask started to slip off. And our awakening is what caused this mask to fall off. They have to be who they have always been, what they are programmed to be. And I don't care whether somebody says, "Oh, nobody's born this way." You are, though. And I don't mean to sound horrific, but it is what it is. It's in your bloodline. It's your genetics.
It's a programming, right? It's a programming. And
it's a part of programming biologically and a programming mentally.
I'll say this. Because this is Q2UA, so I have to keep it, you know.
Yes.
When they are, because I'll tell you this, it is programming that speaks to the epigenetic nature, same as we have programming that speaks to our epigenetic nature.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, epigenetic is basically
what we call genetic memory.
Genetic memory, exactly. And they even did the studies. They did studies with like rats, I think, and all this other craziness. Yeah, it was interesting.
They did the study on veterans from World War II and their children, their future, the generations that came after it. They're still looking into it. They can understand that, but they refuse to understand our situation. Did you finish?
Yeah, sorry. I do read comments and I formulate thoughts at the same time. But what you do have is that, yes, depending on your epigenetic disposition, you become more prone, keyword, prone, to how you will respond in that nature and in that character. That's why it's like this. When they talk about, you know, the bad guy in World War II in Germany, Well, how was he able to amass such an audience? How was he able to appeal, right, to that particular um, group? Because I'm
You
going to tell you,
say the
I'm going to
same
tell you.
thing about what we're seeing
So,
today.
so I'm going to tell you this because in our communities, let's just say this, and that's not to uh, d- degrade anybody. I'm not here to degrade. This isn't to degrade, and even on Covenant Awakenings, I'm not here to degrade. But it does sound derogatory when you're speaking out the truth, because a lot of people just don't like the truth, and because they didn't speak out on the truth, now they're slipping right back into the pattern, because when they listen to the lie and they don't want to accept the truth, they're going to slip right into the pattern, which is what's happening right now. That's what's
Hmm.
happening right now. So on that tangent, but you see that that's what's happening. You see that, okay, it's a group think, it's a group pact, it's a group exercise. We are always a people that are very, very um uh, uh we are not uh homogeneous like that. We are very heterogeneous, which means that we aren't very singular.
No.
Not no, 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 no. We are not very singular. That's why it always is a mystery and a perplexion to them that, you don't achieve singularity with us until you give us pain at a massive scale.
Yeah.
That was the intent of slavery, to give pain at a massive scale for hundreds of years, to ensure that the next 100 years, thank you, Brother Garth, monolithic, that we would essentially fall in line because of how severe we have been treated. So we are not monolithic. Yes, that's right. We are not. Thank you, Brother Garth. We are not monolithic. We're very independent. We're very independent thinkers. We are so independent that, just the mere accusation of certain things and we fall apart, even when it's been proven that it's been a lie. We just fall apart. And that is the nature of being a people in a nation that's not a people, not a nation. Can a nation be born in one day? Yes, it can, when there's a spiritual component that is removed from our eyes. And that veil is being removed day after day, because there is more of a homogeneous understanding on the condition that we're in. And then when we begin to understand the condition that we're in, then we will be able to have an empathetic level of understanding, because we can't even hardly sympathize with one another. We have to empathize because we all have to go through the same struggle. We all have to go through the same trauma, which is getting ready to happen. They're telling you that. They are telegraphing what they're going to.
I don't know. I kind of feel that in a way I agree with you, but I feel that in a way we do empathize with each other. Like I said last week, we over here felt your anguish. It annoyed us. And how many of us got so twisted mad when we saw our brothers and sisters being kicked out of their homes in China
Yeah.
during that time period? We only have to see, but this is why I said I agree with you as well. We are, because we understand that poor treatment, and we only have to see, we have to just catch a whiff of that happening to one of our brothers and sisters a world away, and it really, it unsettles us.
Yeah,
We feel that.
exactly. But what were they doing? They were trying to then understand it wasn't because of them, or it wasn't because of Western actions, while you have the ban on, different social media platforms and things of that nature. it was a global ban because they didn't want to then portray what was happening to our brothers and sisters over in those areas, particularly in China.
Yes. And
That's that was the whole situation. So, then it was, because it wasn't just that. Remember, you also had that, and you also had Black Lives Matter, because then what, people could see it. But I mean, but then it was infiltrated from the start. But besides, it was infiltrated from the start. It didn't mean that the cause wasn't just, right? It didn't mean that the cause did not have any type of legitimacy. It was 100% legitimate, and it just got taken to a really bad direction. But that was also over the course of time, where you had a lot of social media coming through on Facebook, and it was like, look at this, look at that. You had YouTube. YouTube is now heavily censored compared to what
Mhm.
it was in 2020 when I first started,
Yeah. The
compared to
thing
when
is,
Koba and them got on when they had first started.
because the truth needed to go out. First of all, it needed to go out. The truth, we were coming out of darkness, and not just us, but it was the world at large was coming out of darkness, and we was the light. We woke up, the Holy Spirit revived us, breathed in us, and we started to see things individually, and then we started to group together as we do as a people. We come together. There's a scene in iRobot where then you see the robots are grouping together, and it's funny because it's like you when you see that scene, and they're saying, you know the question was, why is it that when in darkness that these robots will seek each other out, they'll come together. And I find that even back then I found that very interesting, and I was still asleep when
And where are we
when that
at right now? We're in gross
exactly
darkness.
exactly. And it's like when they opened the containers, you could see the robots were kind of grouped together and everything. And I find that very, it's kind of like what we're in now today. We are in gross darkness, like you said. And it's like where the light is shined on us, and as the light starts to shine on us, we come together, so it's
We have no choice. When the light starts to shine, remember, our people love to be in darkness. We love to
it's
be in
safe.
gross darkness. Yeah,
It's
because
safer.
exactly. So when we do have to actually accept that, our foot is chopped off, our hand is missing, our arms are missing, we don't
That
want to
morphine's
see.
come out of your system now, huh?
Yeah, yeah. We don't want to accept that the damage, the emotional damage and the trauma that we've been exposed to. We
Mm.
don't. So what we do is, well, know what? I don't read my Bible. I don't do anything. All that's fake and all that's this. And then you literally show them all of the biblical scholarly accounts that's showing everything, even up to this day. You show how the ICC and ICJ right now have numerous lawsuits that's pending on the Roman Catholic Church for trafficking and reparations because of a war through the Dum Diversus that had been declared by papal bull.
You
These are
said this was
these
going to happen.
these are all the things that they can't ignore anymore, because if you've seen what happened to the Eastern Mediterranean nations leader 2 weeks ago, with the ICC coming through with the warrant, then understand this place is in panic. When you see that Trump is saying that there's going to be 100% tariffs and that they're going to try and destroy economies. Okay, well, that's what you just said, and that's why people are revolting. You just
Mm.
explained why people are revolting to begin with, and your little maneuver is going to backfire. the boomerang. And it's like, can people see how this boomerang he just threw on out is going to start hitting people square in their foreheads?
Can I just say something?
Mhm.
Yes, the wicked walks in darkness, but how many of us, when we first woke up, it was hard. It's hard. It's like you first wake up in the morning, especially in winter time, and it's completely dark in the, I don't know what it's like over in America, but over here it's like the mornings are dark and it doesn't get bright until about 7:30 in the morning. But it's a hard wake up. You don't want to wake up. You don't want to, you just want to stay under the covers. But you've got to come, you've got to get up. When that light starts to hit and it's like, okay, I've got to get up.
Yep.
You don't want to go back to bed after that. Once the day is up, once you're up and the sun's out and everything, who wants to go back in their bed? But the point is that we enjoyed being in the darkness because it was a cover. The darkness is a cover, and it is a comfort, because it's like you could turn around and say to people, oh, only certain people like to eat chocolate cake. Yeah, but everybody I hate chocolate cake anyway, but everybody loves chocolate cake, and everybody wants a piece and a slice of that chocolate cake, even though I shouldn't really be eating it, but go ahead. There's things that we know we shouldn't, but we do anyway. And it's like, we know that the darkness was a cover, and it was like, oh, I need to get out of this. But it felt nice being in that darkness because you was hidden, you was asleep. When you wake up, it's terrifying, especially when the reality of your reality sets in and you realize, oh my gosh, we were lied to. And like I was saying to you the other day about, it's not so much, we know these people have been deleting us and doing all manner of evil against us. That's bad. But for me, it's like, what's worse? Seeing, because them doing what they do to us is our daily reality. But knowing that we are literally, this is when you have these people on YouTube doing the iceberg theory. We are the epitome of the iceberg theory. We are the iceberg, because we know that on the top sits what we see them doing to us, the harming, the this, the that. We know it, we live it, we feel it, we breathe it. That's our reality. But when you look underneath the iceberg and you see that there is a plethora of our history that they deleted, that they hid, that's even worse. And then when you come to that reality, when you start to wake up and you come out of the reality of, I'm stepping into the light, the darkness I was in, the things that I was doing. Not only that, remember I said to you, if you not to know who you are and to know whether they know who you are, you only need to see. You read the scriptures and you see what the Most High expected of his children. And then you look at the things that they made us do during slavery and even to this day in Christianity and everything else. When you see that, you start to, you're terrified. It's like, I've been doing all this for all this time. It's kind of like having that Josiah moment when he realized, oh my gosh, we've been sinning badly. We deserved this. It's terrifying. The darkness, as horrible as it is, and it is horrible, and we feel disgusted, but it was our cloak. And not only that, it also hid us amongst them as well. Being in the light puts us at the forefront of their abuse even more. And not just theirs, but everybody else. Because at some point, I imagine everybody's going to be looking, who's to blame for what we're going through? And when people start hearing that how we were proclaiming, we are the Most Highs, and this is what's happening, and blah, blah, blah. at what point are these people going to all band together? Now, this might be what happens in 1,000 years from now, but at what point where these people come together and start to be like, you're to blame? I'm not terrified about that, because I know the Most High is with us. And if he's with us, who can be against us? That's not my point. My point is, we will see them for who and really truly what they are. I mean, we're seeing who they are now, but it will be the next generation that will see that. But coming out into the out of the darkness into the light, we've all done it, and sometimes I feel that we forget what it's like for those who are new to this.
Exactly. Yeah,
We've been
everybody's on a
sitting in
scale.
this.
Yeah, yeah. I see folks in the chat. Everybody's on a scale. Nobody's coming in. Look, the Most High didn't say that he's going to remove his people when all of his people wake on up. No. You even see that in Enoch at this time. Nah, the lambs, some can see, some are half blind, and some are still fully blind. Just getting picked apart. But we're going to come out of this. Those ones that are fully blind, they're going to have a harder time coping with this than those that are half blind. It's a coping mechanism.
That's why I said we are the anchor. We have to be. We're like, and I said this to somebody else. The Most High has never dealt with the majority. That's why he chose the least of us. Mm-hmm. When all these other nations were established, Egypt, the Hittites, all these other nations was established, the Most High chose us. Even China was established at that point. That's how old China is.
And remember when folks were at Sinai with the whole community, that was the whole community. And then they got scared. And then they told Moses, they said, we don't want to go up there anymore.
Yeah.
Just tell us, we're too afraid.
Yeah.
That's how this thing is. And let's not denigrate our people that are still asleep and that are still trying to figure this thing on out, because they're all trying to figure it on out. Everyone's
they're there for where they're at. Yeah. And they're there to do what they have to do. They would be an example of something. We don't know what it is, but the Most High knows, and he sees all. Everybody has a purpose, and I've said this before. We are the whole body of Yasharal, and one cell cannot tell another cell that is different from it that, well, this is my job, this is what I'm supposed to do, shouldn't you be doing this? No, they're instructed to do what they're instructed to do. Mm-hmm. It's not for us to turn and say to anybody, well, you need to do what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Holy Spirit moves. Everybody's calling in this. Everybody, when you awake, people, where you're going to be at in the awakening is going to be the assignment that the Most High has for you. Mm-hmm. That's it. It's going to be whatever the Most High has assigned for you. I would have chose to have been assigned in the back, personally speaking. But I also understood why the Most High brought me into this. And I got brought into this kicking and screaming. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's going to come as a shock to most people, but I am actually quite shy. I am. I am shy, and I don't really. I feel a certain peace coming up here, talking with everyone. I do. And then I start having a little mini freak out, because I'm like, this is not just going to be seen by us and by those of you in the chat. This is going to be seen and listened to by so many other people. That's actually terrifying to me. That really is.
It gets seen by a lot of people, and YouTube loves to mess with the numbers. So yeah.
I'm not lying, Uncle. I swear down. I am shy. I really am shy.
Tens of thousands of people. And then YouTube will only say a couple hundred people. That's how that goes. But yeah, no, this when you're stepping out like this, it hurts. It Yeah,
It
it's a
does.
cost to this. No, it's a cost to this. There are days that you think, okay, am I going to get on, or am I just going to sit on down and try to figure some other stuff on out?
The costs that I have, it's usually family related. It's I listen. Nobody believes me. I swear, I am shy. This is one of the reasons why I'm constantly running joke, because that's my coping mechanism. It really is. I'm just. Let me tell you. Look, if you have a problem with me being up here, you want to go to your coach, that literally dragged me out. It was him. I was on his, and I said to him, I don't know, I can't do this. When I first went on, and it was on here, I can't remember what it was called. I was on there with two other people. I kept saying, I don't know if I can do this. I was shaking.
When I first got on Yakoba, my voice used to quiver.
Yeah.
It used to quiver. I was like, it did. But the thing is that when you're doing stuff like this, and when you're standing boldly in front for the Most High, He will boldly stand for you. He truly does. I never thought that just going on out here that I would go to Tanzania and Burkina Faso within a 2-year span. I never thought that I would be doing travels to different places in the United States. If someone would have said, well, this is what was going to go on, and this is how because it's a maturing process. It's a maturing process. And I'm not trying to have everybody else say, hey, you need to be exactly like me. No. Because when you are pushed, and you're pushed into doing something that's not your calling, then it will falter.
Yeah.
It will. But the Most High will lead you and guide you into where He has purpose for you.
Yeah. My hands are shaking right now. They do. I'm just
cold. I'm shaking because it's cold.
It's not because it's not because it's
cold down here in Tampa.
It is cold here, but I'm not cold. I'm not cold right now. I'm actually quite warm. But no, I joke around a lot. The time when I feel more anxious is probably when I'm reading scriptures, because that's His word, and I don't play around with His word. I don't want to play around with His word. I really, really do not want to play around with His word. We're seeing what's happening to these pastors because they've been lying. They're
being judged. Yeah, they're being judged right now, and that judgment is, look, would you rather be judged for righteousness, or would you rather be judged for wickedness? I would rather be judged for righteousness.
Yes, man.
Because right now, I mean, can you even afford it? Can you even afford to listen to a lie? Honestly, you can't. Nobody has that luxury. Even the Christian church knows it doesn't have that luxury. They're losing their people because they're trying to figure something on out. Look, do I need to just buy?
That lie down.
Do I just need to buy gold? Do I need to buy this? Do I just need to trust in the power of my own arm? That is what they are thinking. Do I even need to, even try to understand the Bible from their concept, their construct? Is their whole construct wrong? That is what they're coming to grips with.
I know it sounds really weird, but excuse me, hiccup. That's the nerves. I feel sorry for them. And I'm not just talking about our people in the church. I'm talking about all Christians everywhere. I feel sorry for them, especially when they feel that they're doing the will of the Most High. I feel sorry for them. Think about like we have to have a certain like you know me, I would be like, yeah, you know, Gentiles is blah, you know. I say what I say and everything. And I'm not, this isn't a take back or anything, but we have to have a certain level of not sympathy, but empathy. And the reason why I say that is because think about how we felt when we woke up and realized the lies we were told. Most of our people, when they are told the truth, it's too earth-shattering for them to the point where those are the ones that run back to bed. Mm-hmm. As for the Gentiles, I feel sorry for them to wake up to damnation, to literally wake up. RPS ain't playing around. Like, they're being marked for death.
Well, why do you think they always say, like, you know, it's a hate channel to hate? And to be honest, no, I don't hate them. I pray for them.
I don't pray for them as such, because like the scriptures literally said, "Don't be praying for your enemies." So
I'll tell you this: there are some righteous Gentiles amongst them.
The righteous, we know there are.
I pray for those that step into that righteousness, that they do so. The only reason that they don't step into that is the same reason that a lot of our people don't step into it. The pride of their hearts have deceived them. Same with our people.
For our people, it's the pride of being lied to. They don't want to know that they've been lied to. For theirs, it's the pride of, no, this is about us. We are the one. See, for us, it's hard for us to wrap our heads around, but this is talking about us. Why are you running from it? Because there's a certain embarrassment for knowing that you've been deceived so badly. It's, you know, the cognitive dissonance as well that our people face, as well as theirs.
So I would say that being a light unto the Gentiles, as the scripture says, there has to come that has to come with a certain level of compassion.
Yeah, we went through this.
And if we don't have that compassion, see, understand, there's a reason that we're waking up in stages. Because you want to know why? We're just full. When we had woken up, we were full of hate, rage, and vitriol. We were.
Hey, listen, when I woke up, you want to know, besides Pastor, I always forget his name. Pastor, oh my gosh.
Is it Omar or Stephen Darby?
Darby, Pastor Stephen Darby. Rest in peace. But the first people I was listening to, I was literally in them camps. I loved watching them videos. Because it's a COINTEL operation.
Get juiced up on the emotion.
Yeah, it was.
And now you're seeing, so understand, you're literally seeing everything spelled out right now. You emotionalize people so then people cannot get an understanding of facts.
Yeah.
The fact is, think about this. Now, I want people to really truly understand when I say that this has been people say it's a prison planet. No, not really. It's not a prison planet. Is this nation a prison nation? Yes, it is. It is literally a prison nation. But in this prison nation, you have the prisoners through the dumb diversus, which is still going on right now in its very state. That's how this Constitution is even fashioned off of that. That is actually the Rome, the Vatican fashioning of it. But then you had to go and you had to find the wardens and the corrections officers.
You know, Mama Yasha Yahoo said something that, and it's a statement that I've heard before. It's very true. It's easier to deceive someone than trying to convince them they've been deceived. Mm-hmm. It is. And it's like the more ridiculous the lie, and bigger the lie, the more they'll believe it.
Exactly. And so now you have folks that have thought, you know, hey, I came over here righteously, and it's like, no, you came on over because you got enticed by the proposition of getting paid handsomely to be a corrections officer.
Yes. Including people that look like us.
Including our people that are, no, they're not corrections officers, but they are paid informants.
Yeah, that part.
So
Yeah.
understand that is now when you're able to articulate that, now you're able to understand how the system works. And then those that are listening, and then they realize, dang, that's how the system works. Then they have to take a look and they have to examine, is this my role in this? So that is what's happening. Sorry, Sister Chantel, but that's what's happening. Folks are understanding their role. That's why folks, when it says in Daniel chapter 12, verses 1 through 4, that when some wake up to everlasting life and some wake up to death, to everlasting shame and condemnation, this is what's happening. Now, Gentiles will be judged. They're going to be judged. There are going to be some Gentiles that are going to be judged righteously, and some Gentiles that's going to be judged wickedly. But they're going to be judged. That's between them and the Most High. All we're responsible to do is to tell them that this judgment is coming, and that if they don't prepare, they're going to be on that side of judgment that they think that they're not going to be, i.e. the Christian church. So we can't just come here and make blanket accusations, because what I've begun to learn here quite recently is that when you make those blanket accusations on a people, understand they were just trying to be as righteous and as holy as what they thought the scriptures were trying to convey from someone that lied to them.
Yeah, we could say, like, somebody would say, well, so why didn't they read the scriptures then? Well, why didn't we?
Exactly.
Why did it take us? We've been free for a long time. Why didn't it take us so long to read it?
Guess what we've been doing? We've been playing the role of the accusers of brethren. In this awakening, a lot of our people became employed by Hasatan. We may have been half awake, half asleep, or blind. But when you say the love of many have waxed cold, yeah, they may not deserve our love. I get it. They may not deserve anything from us. I get it. But guess what? We didn't deserve anything from the Most High.
That's true.
I'm sorry. Let's look. Because do you understand how we get out of this captivity? It's not looking at them. It's looking at us. There's not a hill of beans that they can do. Let's just be honest. There's not. If my people who are called by my name have to do what?
Humble themselves.
Humble themselves. We don't even have the humility. So we're back doing what Hasatan had us do in the first place that got us into captivity.
That's why when people say, oh, we was put into captivity because of our forefathers, I sometimes question that. Is it really because of our forefathers? Because if you look at the things that our ancestors, because of, crucifying the Most High, his son, and so on and so forth, and the evils of our of our ancestors. And I'm like, okay, so what was we doing in the land? We fell prey to a lot of things that the surrounding nations were doing.
Exactly. And we would be doing the exact same thing as the surrounding nations are doing.
Yeah.
That's it. You want to accuse? You're accusing like them. You want to point fingers? You're going to point fingers like them. And trust me, I was in the same boat, the same predicament. So I will put my hands up and said, yes, I used to do that.
Same here.
And I know that the Most High had to deal with my heart because why? We're all filthy rags. Everybody.
I still got stuff that I need to deal with. I'm not going to sit up here and make out like I'm up here, I'm holier than thou. And that understanding that quote is just ridiculous. I'm holier than thou. I'm more set apart than everybody else. Okay.
But here's where people diverge because they get all emotional in their feelings. They diverge because when they say, the Gentiles will do what? Will grab onto a Yahudim and say, which way is it? Take me where here's the thing. You realize that Yahuwah could have rejected us too.
Yeah. According to them, he did.
Yeah.
And they're the new Israel.
We're not all out of captivity just yet. I'm just saying.
We're still in captivity.
We're still in captivity. Exactly.
We've just woken up to realize that we are in captivity. That's the difference.
That doesn't mean that I go out and I'm trusting every Gentile. No. But I'm not going to go on out there and be an accuser as the enemy.
Then you have an Edomite spirit, don't you?
Yep. Exactly.
And by extension, the spirit of Satan.
Exactly.
Accuser of the brethren.
Have you all been bewitched? Man, listen, Jacoba just taught on that. This thing is real, family. This thing is real. We're not going to be perfect, but we need to come to the reality of our perfection isn't in us. Our perfection is in Yahushua HaMashiach. That's it.
Excuse me a minute.
Because you don't know who the Most High will throw in your way. That will be that blessing. And he said, you don't. And I have to check myself on that too. Because we've all been hurt. We've all gone through emotional, psychological, spiritual damage. And that's a word here. So now we have to understand in this word, hearers and doers of it, and yeah, you're right, Brother Eric, we don't. We just need to live for who? For Yahusha. That's it. But it's our people that get enticed into focusing on them rather than focusing on what the Most High has for us, that they fall into the trap. Everything is a spiritual trap that has been laid out for us in this awakening. Everything.
What Brother Eric said and what you just said, we don't have to oh, good grief, sorry. We don't have to, I suffer with hiccups. We don't have to accuse them of anything. Our mere existence accuses them of everything.
Yeah.
And that's why they get triggered by us.
And they get triggered, but what happens to those that want to repent?
What, those of them?
Yeah. What happens to those that are truly wanting to humble themselves and repent?
Well, I don't see any problem why we should not forgive. If we seek repentance and forgiveness from our Father, why should we not forgive them? Why should we? I'm not saying
Well,
trust them,
but you see what I'm saying? So then that is the quandary that we have with our hearts. It is.
if somebody came up to me and said, "Look, I'm wrong," and they tried to make amends, how can I say, "Nah, get out my face"? I'm not built that way.
Yeah, well, I mean, but there's a lot of our people that are.
I'm not built that way. I'm not built that way. I can't be, because how can I kneel before the Most High and say, give a plethora of all the sins that I've done, and then say, yeah, forgive me? Why? Because it's me. How can I do that if I'm not willing to forgive somebody that did something to me but didn't? Look, the Bible literally says that these people, they were living in darkness. They didn't have the word like we did. We did what's our excuse. We did far worse to our Father than they could ever have done to us. That's just the long and short of it.
We literally didn't do our vows. And now in this awakening, are we coming out and we're not doing our vows, and we're in the same repetitive cycle? It's just that we think that we're in a more righteous cycle. They think that they're righteous. They think that they're righteous.
And I'm not making excuses for them as well. So no. I don't want people to think, oh, it's another Israelite make it. No, this ain't that. But we also have to be honest with ourselves and be like, well, how can we? We can't. The way I see it is, I don't need to be getting involved. This is Father's business. If I will, and I think I'll take the approach that Brother Eric says, if you ain't done anything to me, then I ain't got no issue with you. It's when you start opening up your mouth and start fixing yourself to do something, then I got a problem with you. But if they come to me and it's like they know they're wrongs, because there's some people, they say the most, you just have to look at them and like, did you really let that drop out your lips? And then they're like, oh my gosh, did I
know them by their what? By their fruits. It's a simple thing.
But what happens when you show them their fruit is rotten, and you put it in their hand and they look at it and they're like, oh my gosh, is that mine? And you tell them yes.
And here's the thing. We have to stop with I'm not saying that as a people. I'm not saying that as a nation. Okay? But there are ones and twos that will repent. As a people, we were wicked. Not all of us were wicked.
But we all went together.
Let's get it straight. Even in this awakening, you want to see how many of our people are wicked? Not all of us are wicked.
Well, the Most High said you will loathe yourself in your own sight.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the righteous amongst us. And I just want to say, like, there has to be righteous amongst them, because we are going to be taking them they're going to be our servants, our employees, quote unquote. The Most High is not going to put the wicked amongst them, amongst us.
The word employees. Some people will say contracted.
Okay, contracted. But oh, good grief! It's just whatever. Yeah. But the point is, the righteous amongst them will be coming with us. Do you really think? Like, come on, like, think critically, knowing who they are, knowing who our Father is, and He's a loving Father. He sees that, okay, I'm taking you back to your land. Is He really going to put the worst of them amongst us? Sometimes when our people say, well, it says that we're going to take them into slavery and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, who though? Which ones? Because there's going to be two types. There's those that are coming into captivity with us. They're all going into captivity. There will be those that will become our servants. They're not going to be hired in the sense they have a debt to pay. So I don't know what the system's going to be like, because I know that they're not going to want for nothing. But even like I've said in the past, Eliezer was rich under Abraham, and he was a servant. But what I'm saying is that there are those that are going to come with us. They will be with us. And the Most High has instructed us in the scriptures on how to treat our servants, our people, just people in general. But there is another group who will cut their nose off to spite their face and be like, I ain't working for no N-word. And that's fine, that's cool. Go to your Eastern oppressors. Then you will know what slavery really truly is. When we read the scriptures and it says that they will give unto them double unto their double. Double unto their double. Brother Eric, I know you get me on this. Double unto their double. Right?
And that's going to be from those other nations. That's
Yeah.
going to be through those other nations. And you know, the funny thing is that when you see the Greek word and you see Joel 3:8, the Sabaeans, and I'll cover this tomorrow. You see that those Sabaeans, you know, are far off people. When you see in the Greek, I'll say lexicon, those Sabaeans were over there in the Arabian area, in that area of Yemen up into
Isn't that interesting though? I knew
and,
that, but it's interesting, especially what's going on today.
And yeah, and now if you think about that, especially now with the Houthis doing what the Houthis are doing, these are some interesting times. Like when I tell you this global breakout is here, it's physical and it is spiritual. It is. Don't think that these folks just said all of a sudden, now it's time to fight. No, there was something that was pushing them to that. And the Most High, in my opinion, was doing that. They were pushing them. So here we are at this time seeing that reality unfold. And yeah, these are some interesting times. But so Sister Chantel, any final comments before I close up this Q2UA special report?
Thank you for letting me on. Thank you everyone for just having patience with me and for laughing at my my shyness. Thank you. No, but there's a lot that's happening, and the most important thing that we need to take away is that the Most High is in control of everything. We know this because it's in our word. And I say our word, his word, but it's ours. It was written by our people, for our people, for this very, very time, this moment in time. So we don't have to fear. We don't even have to fear for our brothers and sisters that aren't awake. We just have to pray for them and ask the Most High protect them and to keep them safe. And that's it really. And just put everything in his hands. If we have that and we remember that this was always how we got through things in the past when we was righteous, then I don't see how it's a problem. Like, we have so many promises, especially, Psalms 90, was it Psalms 91 or 93? I can't remember, one of the two, but we have promises that tell us, we don't have to worry. This is not for us. And, was it stand still and see the salvation of Yahuwah? That's all we need to remember. I'm going to leave on this, and I say this all the time, either we believe the word or we don't. There is no halfway believing in this. You can't just be like, oh, well, I believe that bit and I'll take that bit and I'll take that bit. Then you're no different and no better than the Gentiles. That's exactly what the church does. The word says what the word says, and I fully believe it. It's how we woke up. We all read Deuteronomy 28 and we realized, oh, that's us. And then we started going further on into the word, realizing this is all about us. We started to see how everything our ancestors, the way our ancestors carried on, is exactly how we carry on even today. Our ancestors were easily swayed and manipulated and willingly went along and participated in the foolishness of these other nations, and we do the same thing today, myself included. I'm not immune to it. I really ain't. I have my own to deal with, But all I can say is hallelujah, because who wants somebody to be sitting up here saying, well, you need to be this and you need to be that? It's nice. I know it's like that saying, misery loves company, but it's nice to know that you have people that are grounded, that understand what you're going through, that understands your struggles, that understands, what it means to be human, and to just fall over and over and over and over again, but to have the strength through Yahushua HaMashiach to pick yourself up. Well, it's not even picking yourself up, it's him picking us up, because we reach out to him. As he puts his hand down, we reach up and he pulls us up. So as long as we do that, and as long as we try to stay on the path of righteousness and have faith in him and believe his word 100%, then all I can say is that this is not for us. It's not for us. Anyway, thank you, Karis, for letting me on, and peace and blessings to everybody in the chat. I hope that the Most High continues to keep you safe, you and your families and friends, and so on and so forth. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sister Chantel. Yep, we have a lot of growing to do as a people, and I understand that, because honestly, just think about this. By the same measure that you use to judge people, that will be used. That will be how you will be judged. You'll be judged by that. This is the time, family. Look, we have to repair some things internally with us. I don't know about you, but I do not want to be an accuser of the brethren. I don't want to be an accuser of those that call on the name of Yahuwah. If you're calling on the name of Yahuwah through his son Yahushua HaMashiach, who am I to say anything different? Because it's going to be the Most High that sorts everything out. And it will be. And I get it. I get it. It's a heart issue. I didn't say that we're going to be perfect getting on out of here. But I know we're going to be getting on out of here all the same. And this is going to be some things that we're going to have to work on when we are all together in the wilderness. That's just how that goes. But the folks are breaking out worldwide. And as that's happening, let's continue to make sure that our house is in order. And that means our spiritual house is in order. First and foremost. Because I'm telling you, it gets quickly translated to our brothers and sisters on the continent. Not saying that that's here, but it does when things happen and we interact with them. Well, how come you didn't do this? How come you didn't do that? How come you should have? Everybody could have had the shoulda, woulda, could haves. But nobody wants to truly recognize who is the puppet master in this whole system. His name is Hasatan. And at one point in time of another, everybody was tied into that satanic matrix. That's why I pray for people. I pray for our people, and I even pray for the Gentiles. Because I'm telling you, when they know the truth, and they know the truth, and they will say the truth, it's going to be way too late for them. So for those that will be saved, that's between them and the Most High. But all I can say is, look, let no fault be found in Judah. Let no fault be found in us. I know what they've done. They know what they've done. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to look forward. I'm going to stay forward on this path. Because I know, here's the thing. If you're looking backwards, you're actually not able to move forwards. Try to walk and you're looking backwards. How successful are you? Just want to leave you with that one. All right. Well, tomorrow I'll be on Q2UA. We can go more in depth with this, or we can see what's going to transpire in the course of these next, oh boy, couple of 24 hours. Because as things begin to progress, yes, you understand there are going to be some things that are definitely moving. So let's talk about that. Again, family, thank you for your support of Quest to Unite Africa, Q2UA. You can do so by donating at this channel. You can do that with, super chat, super sticker. Definitely appreciate it. Or you could do so for a tax deductible 501c3. We're all in this system. We all pay to Caesar what's due to Caesar. So if you're supporting us, know that you may do so via quest2uniteafrica.org/donate. That's quest2uniteafrica.org/donate. So with that said, family, I got to get up on out of here. And with that, shalom, salama, siemi, shalom. Peace and blessings to all the people that call on the name of the Most High, whether you are an Israelite or a Gentile. Hallelujah. See you tomorrow on Covenant Awakenings, family. Shalom.